How did you end up going into the Army?
Well, I was working at the Veterans Administration Hospital, and when I went to work there, I went to work on the ward as a staff nurse, and the head nurse got ready to leave, and the supervisor said, "I'd like you to take over as the head nurse on this ward." And I said, okay. So I took over the job, and there was a nurse who was working with me, a young white woman, and she was very upset because I got the job. She had been there longer than I. Well, part of that was because of the way I worked. You know, I come out of Harlem, you know, I had been taught well. I knew how to organize my work. I knew to work with the men and women who worked as aides. I knew how to work with them and get them to do their work. And I knew how to work with the other people. So, you know, even when I was in head nurse, I worked as though I was, because when something was happening, I'd say, well, why don't I do this and you do that? And, you know, so we get the job done. That was the thing, to take care of the patient. Not to worry about somebody's feelings getting hurt. That wasn't. So get them straightened out, go get that job done. That was my attitude. And I guess the supervisor noticed that because I could get things, so she asked me if I'd take over. And this one girl was very upset about it, and I said to her, well, I didn't make me head nurse. I'm not the one to talk to. You need to talk to the supervisor, and then let her explain it. And you can talk to the chief nurse and let her explain. But in the meantime, I got the job. So I went on and did my work, and she left. That was fine. That was good. If she couldn't stand it, that was fine with me, because I didn't have time to deal with that, with getting things done and so forth. And it was when I was doing that, I'd been there about 2 years, and one of the supervisors said to me, who had been working with me for a while, she said, you would be good in the Army. I said, really? Why? She said, because you know how to organize things and get them done. I said, well, don't we do that in the civilian world too? She said, yeah, but not as well as you do. You got a military attitude. I said, well, okay, I'll go and see if I can go in. So I went down, and they took me. And they called me in the middle of the night to tell me I was going to go to Texas for my basic training.
But when you were getting ready to go over and inquire about getting into the Army, did you have any reservations, concerns? I mean, this is a major change here.
No, I wanted to find out what it was all about. First of all, I wanted to travel. See, I like traveling. I said, well, now this would move me from place to place. I'd get to travel all over the United States, overseas, everything. Hey, I'd be to see the world. So I just went over there and said, you know, they told me I could apply here. And they said, you know, paperwork, filled it out, went on. I didn't have a problem. I met with no opposition, nothing at all.
But up until relatively recently, in terms of the late 1940s, prior to that, the military had been totally segregated.
Oh, yes, because Maggie Bailey, do you know Maggie Bailey? Maggie Bailey, a fantastic woman. She is the first African-American colonel in the Army Nurse Corps. But Maggie was in the segregated Army, and where the black nurses took care of the black soldiers and the prisoners of war. So, interesting. But nevertheless, but Maggie's attitude, and she was different from me. She's a quiet dissenter and a mover and shaker, and smiles at you and is very nice to you, and gotcha. And gotcha. I'm more hitching top of your head and get your attention. I haven't got time to be nice to you. Besides, you're wasting my time, and that's important. But that's not the best way. Her way is much better than mine, I'm sure.
But by the time you got...
She paved the way. She was the first black colonel, and she paved the way. And those before her, who maybe didn't get promoted but were willing to stand up and be counted, paved the way. There's always, you're standing on so many shoulders, you don't even know how many shoulders you're standing on. Because, you know, and I have to laugh about President Truman. I mean, when that whole thing about integration came up, it was so funny because when I read that book, I cracked up because I said, I know he was swearing like a sailor. And all of it get chopped.
Which book are you talking about? When he read which book?
Oh, no, it was a book that my sister, has on his life. I don't know who wrote it because she has it up home there. Mm-hmm. But the other thing was the fact that, you know, when they didn't have the forced integration and so forth, but they finally did get it done, there was still segregation. There was still segregation because I remember my first assignment after Fort Sam. Now, down in Fort Sam, I knew that you were segregated down there. I was in the South. I understood where I was. And
where was it?
I was in San Antonio. And that's a military town. But it was very segregated at the time that I was there in 54. That's because I came in the Army. Yeah, I'm getting so old I can't remember when I did it. But nevertheless, I came in the Army. And one of the times we were going to go to the movies, and one of the girls said to me, well, we can go downtown. Well, when I got downtown, I was sitting up in the rafters. I said, now, what in the world is this all about? She said, well, you know, we're only allowed to sit up here, but you're not allowed to sit down. I said, well, I'm not going to come down and spend my money on any more movies down here when they can have the same movie on post. I can wait for it, and then I can sit wherever I want to. And so I didn't do that. And then she told me, well, when you go into the store, if you try on anything, they make you buy it. I said, really? I don't want it. So I went in and put my feet in a pair of shoes. She said, well, they fit fine. You can wear. I said, no, they don't. I don't want them. Got them, walked out. I said, now you can throw them away if you want to, because my black feet is wearing them, and that's your problem, not mine. I did it deliberately. And I can't remember the girl's name was with me. She said, you just do anything and get away with it. I said, that's because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. What are they going to do to me? So they kill me. So what? What have they gained? Nothing.
What have you lost?
Maybe it was my time to go.
Yeah.
It was my time to go. Well, if it weren't my time to go, I wouldn't go.
That is very true. But you've been talking.
You know, I just challenged the whole system because I figured this is dumb. Here we are, the military people fighting for your life, you idiot. And then you want to tell me if I try on a pair of shoes or put my hand on a glove I got to buy, give me a break. Since when did I poison it by touching it? If that's the case, you should be dead, because when you were a baby, I probably took care of you idiot.
But when you actually, within the military, did you run into any remnants of segregation?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was there. It was there, yes. And it was subtle, but it was there. And it was in the business of your efficiency ratings. And when you got your efficiency rating, you needed to see it. Well, sometimes I didn't have time to do it. You can see it later on. You can see it down. No, I always saw mine. Because I found that out. Somebody told me. I can't remember who told me that. But I said, okay, I'll make sure I see it. So when I would see it, I could question whatever was not up to par. And I remember when I was back at Walter Reed and I was working very hard, I worked on mostly open heart surgery cases. I did neurosurgery cases, and these are big cases and long cases, you know, hours, 4 and 5 and 6 hour cases. And I also worked with 1 or 2 of the wild men that everybody was scared of. And, you know, I got along with them because I tell them there'd be no cursing in here today. Oh, Hazel, it's you. Yeah, that's me. So, you know, I don't like that, so don't do that. Because I was good, they would go along with me because I was quick and I knew how to handle the instruments real well. And, you know, they'd be saying, and I'd have it in their hand because I watched what was going on. And, you know, over time you learn how things are done so you can be on top of the surgery. As far as I was concerned, it was for the patient's sake, not for that clown that was acting wild and killing everybody and hollering and screaming and going on. And this poor residents, 1 or 2 of them, if I'd been that resident, I'd have picked up one of those instruments and smacked him upside his head. Because, I mean, sometimes they would be just so, foul-mouthed and vicious. That was awful.
These were the surgeons.
Yeah. There's no reason to do that. That's just, I don't know what you're trying to prove. But you know, and sometimes I would say, I'm tired of all this cursing in here. Can we get that tone down a little bit? Oh, Hazel, you always say that. I said, I do, but I would like you to pay attention, sir. Unless you want me to take this coker and crack your knuckles. You do it, too. I said, mm-hmm. So I'm standing up beside him there with my mask on, and I'm the instrument passer. And I was very good. I mean, when they got it in their hand, they knew it was in their hand because I made sure they got it. And so, they liked that. They liked that, you know, the way I did it. But I also could hit you if I made it short, you know, let you put your hand out and put it back. Boom. Oh, sorry.
but you would, despite your efficiency, sometimes get evaluations that clearly
Well,
were not.
Yeah, well, it only happened once.
Uh-huh.
I saw all of them before, and they were fine. This one time I got this evaluation. And the number system was that, you wanted to get as close to 10 as possible. And the person who did the evaluation had put me down around 8 or something like that and said, oh, this is excellent. You've done excellent work. I said, if I've done excellent work, how come I'm not all the way up at the top? Well, you have to have room to grow. I said, what am I going to grow to? I'm doing everything already. So what am I going to grow to? Well, I don't know. I said, well, I think I belong all the way to the top. I think that line needs to be drawn out to the end. I think that needs to be changed. I think that needs to be changed. Because I'm doing all that. And I said, and any 2 times that the person who's on duty, who is senior to me, here I am a captain, and a colonel calls me out of my bed to come in and scrub with the chief of staff because she's scared to scrub with him. I think I'm doing more than they're doing. And I think I deserve the highest rating. She said, well, I'll give it to you because I know that you will just be always grumbling about it. I said, no, I'm not going to grumble about it. I'm going to raise particular.
You're going to raise what?
Particular hell is what I'm going to raise. And I meant it. I meant that. I really meant that. I couldn't, I wasn't going to stand and let them put me down lower than that, because then when I come up for promotion, someone would say, well, now look at that. She's only at this. And she's been here doing this, and then I'd be passed over.
As a black woman, you didn't find resistance on the part of some of the white males who were used to controlling the environment.
No.
You didn't find resistance to them sort of consulting with you as an equal in terms of your opinions, your knowledge. We want you to be involved in the policy, because it sounds like you're really just moving.
Yeah, I was moving into policy. No, I didn't. If they had any resistance, they never let it be shown to me, because I encountered more assistance and help, support. And that was very good. The R&D gentlemen, both the civilians and the military, seemed to be interested in what was going on with the issue and not interested in whether or not you were male, female, black, white, or green. What could you contribute to the actual resolution of this problem we're trying to solve?
So the new military, the new integrated military, really, it was a reality for you.
Yes, it was a reality for me. Although there were pockets of problems. But, I developed that attitude. I don't have time for the people that are stupid. I really don't. Because they'd be holding me back if I spent my time dealing with them. I just kept on going. And a couple of people who I knew were problems, I told them straight out to their face. I said, you have a problem, and you need to really think about dealing with it. Because I'm moving on. And one of these days, I might be your boss. And it might be smart to not be stupid.
Did you not think at any point about getting out of the Army, or getting back into civilian life?
When I had my first tour, I had not completed my bachelor's degree. So after I had come back from Japan, I went into the inactive reserves and went back to school. Got my degree and came back on active duty. I had found my niche where I could travel, meet a lot of people, have fun, enjoy the world, at the same time get my work done, do the work that I wanted to do, and be involved in some things I probably would have never been involved in had I not been in the military.
What kind of response did you find to you overseas, in Japan and Korea? It was not an everyday thing for Japanese and Koreans to see black women wandering around commanding others and being nurses. What kind of reaction?
Well, I think by the time there they had some experience, because I never had any problems. And in fact, I worked well with them. And when I was in Korea, that was in 78, 79, at the hospital there, we were having a problem with the cleanliness of the hospital, and the Korean men primarily were doing the cleaning work, and some of the women. But I didn't have any problem when I finally helped them to get that straightened out. And that hospital began to sparkle, but I knew how to do it. I was the chief nurse of the hospital. And the commander, every time he talked about the place being not clean, he looked at me. And I said to him, why are you looking at me? That's his job. I said, but I tell you what, since he's not doing it, I'll do it. And you stay out of it. That's what I told my good buddy Bill. I said, you stay out of it. So I did, but I knew how to work with the people. I keep moving this mic. I hope I'm not messing it up.
It's fine.
But my thing was I went and talked to everybody. I don't do things, just demand and say, edicts coming down from the Pope. No, I don't do that. I talk to people. And I said, we have a problem. And let's go first to the place where we keep the buckets and mops and so forth. And when I got down there, I told the supply man, I want 10 new buckets and I want 20 mops. Brand new, because these guys are old and gone. We've been just dragging them around with us, but they can't last. They can't do it. So we got the new material, and I taught them how to clean. And they were very receptive to it.
Was it?
But,
yeah, go ahead.
But the reason why it worked so well is because I've provided rewards. I said, okay, what we'll have is a competition. The cleanest place gets a plaque that says they have been absolutely excellent in the cleanliness of this environment, and the patient care is top drawer. And we'll have a little party and fed everybody who've done well. Well, their competition was splendid. The place sparkled. It sparkled. I was tickled to death. I said, very good. And Sergeant Major Abair said to me, you're slippery. I said, no, I'm not. I just know how to help people do what they can do and reward them for doing it. That's what you do. You reward people for getting a hold of something and doing the right thing.
Now, I understand also that there was an occasion when a young officer came to you. I can't recall whether it was when you were in Korea, but came to you and said when you first came that there were some people who were thinking that you wouldn't do a good job.
Yeah, that's true. That was Korea.
That was Korea?
That was Korea when I first got there. It was a young white, I think it was a corporal. But anyhow, he came. He was so funny. He came in. He said, I don't know how to tell you this, but this is what's going on, and I thought you needed to know. And I said, I really appreciate your doing that. I really do. I thank you so very much. I really do. And then I called Sergeant Abair, who was a sergeant major, and I said to him, okay, I want you to plan a meeting for everybody in this hospital on the different shifts, and set the time up, and I will come and talk to each one of them.
The young serviceman who had come to you what did he actually say to you?
He said that I want you to know, ma'am, that there are people who are trying to say that you don't know what you're doing and that you don't know how to be a chief nurse because you're black. I said, really? He said, yes. I said, well, I'm real pleased that you came and told me that. I really do appreciate that. And he said, well, I was just so upset that they were saying that because I don't think that's right. I said, it isn't right. And I said, it's never right to talk about people negatively behind their back. If someone has a problem, they should be big enough to come to the person and say, look, I don't understand something, and so forth. I said, but you did the right thing. I said, because we don't need this kind of dissension. We've got a job to do, and I'm not going to spend my time fighting a whole lot of foolishness. So I'm really proud of you for coming forth and telling me.
And so then you organized these meetings?
Yeah, I spoke to everybody. I organized a meeting with the enlisted people, then with the civilians, and with the nurses. And I told them who I was, what I did, what my credentials were, and I gave them an option. If they didn't want to work with me, I'd be happy to see that they got back to the States. But I would also happy to see that they got out of the Army Nurse Corps.
So did you have any people
taking
up your offer?
Nobody dropped any piece of paper on my desk. Nobody did. And after about a month, everything worked wonderfully well. Now, I know there were some people playing some games behind my back, but I determined that the game wasn't worth my while, and I just let them go ahead and waste their time. And when they didn't do their job right, I told them, well, hey, you just have to work an extra shift, haven't you? Too bad. Your problem. But then there were a couple of them who played a little game on me, telling me, you know, these doctors are having too many of these the patients come in here, these Korean patients, these babies, and we're so overworked and so forth and so on. I said, well, let me look into it. So I went to the chief of professional services. He and I were equals, and that was his job, because they were his doctors. And I said, you know, I don't know, but you might want to look into it, because some of the nurses are complaining to me about having to work longer hours and about with these patients that they're bringing in to do these operations on, which is maybe beyond what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know what the number is, but you need to look into it. So he did. And he came back to me and he said, now, Hazel, I don't understand, because when I talked to them, they said that there was no problem. I said, really? They told you that? You just tell those doctors have a ball. Go out there and drag as many patients as they want to in. We'll be happy to take care of them since there's no problem. I'm delighted to hear that. And he looked at me and said, you're mean. I said, no, I'm not. Nobody plays these kind of games with me. I'm going to teach people the results of these kind of games. You play these games and I'll beat you at your game. If you play it, I'll help you to make it happen, honey. Since there's no problem, no problem. And it better be done right, because I will be coming to check.